when you're working on a demonstration and exhibition, you know you have to succeed.
They were like, ha 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 ha.
I have to make a confession to an old friend, Casey Seeley. I did a copy of one of his paintings. He's a master landscape painter. For my students, I did a demonstration of one of his. It just had the right light. It had the right style. It had the right technique.
But you can always claim, oh, this is just a contemporary take. You know, I saw
But
some
he says,
of it.
I don't want to know what it means. I went, well, I do. I'm a bit curious. So I have to ask Katerina what it was. Well, it's not true communism, though, is it? Like, true communism would be a positive thing if it was done properly.
Well,
You know, but that's an ideal world, isn't
well,
it?
and now go to ChatGPT and ask how to do it properly, and
create
it
a
will
commune.
give you an advice on
Yeah.
this. It's tragedy, in some sense, that we need to constantly be, you know, bombarded with unpleasant things that confront us. But it appears that without that, life can't exist. It just erodes itself and dies out. And ChatGPT is completely removing this tension. It just sort of creates a comfortable environment whereby it just make you comfortable in your beliefs and providing you evidence to support your beliefs and affirming it. Welcome to The Unfinished Line, a podcast about art, process, and the strange business of making something meaningful.
We're two working artists, a painter and a sculptor, having honest conversations about creativity and failures and ideas and materials and everything that happens inside and outside of the studio.
Some episodes would be thoughtful, some are chaotic, and some episodes will disappear completely off track.
Which is probably how you're going to know it's real.
So grab a coffee or tea and step into the studio with us.
And welcome to The Unfinished Line. I like those smells. I try not to smell the petrol too much when I'm putting it in the car. It's like, whoa.
You like it?
I do, too much.
Too. Yeah.
But I try to get away from it. Yeah.
I do like it occasionally. I don't like terps.
No, terps is harsh. A friend of mine passed 8 years ago. Every time I walk in his studio, he'd have 4 or 5 bloody jars, usually, or tins, open of terps. I just go, what? It's in the middle of winter, everything's closed up, and he's just breathing in all this solvent, you know. So I'd go over there, I'd put jar lids on everything, and every time I'd walk in. But he was old school, you know. He's one of the old wash my hands in terps sort of thing.
Yeah, I don't know if it's, I mean, terps is not healthy, but it's probably not like super lethal.
Well, I think it is one of the main lethal elements of paint.
It would be, yeah. Unless you ingest like cobalt red and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, terps would be, but I mean, it's not like cyanide. It's not gonna kill you immediately. But
well, I use that Gamsol, which is
it's too oily for me. I don't
low
like.
Toxic.
Yeah.
They've refined it to get rid of the vapors as much. So
yeah, but for me, Gamsol is a bit too oily. I kind of find it. Yeah, it's like oil.
Well, I add oil to mine to make an underpainting medium.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but to wash the brushes.
I don't wash brushes in terps.
And what do you do?
Well, I've got linseed oil tub. Start with that. Then I go to olive oil, massage it out with that when I want to store it. If I want to put it away for a long time, I'll give them a wash with soap and water to really get it out. But if I want to then restore it in sharp formation, I'll add something like lard or olive oil to reshape it and then wash it out when I go to use it again. In terps.
Yeah. I just find that linseed oil, washing it in linseed oil is so expensive because linseed oil is expensive.
I get the Bunnings one.
Do they sell?
Yeah, $20 for 2 liters or something. What it is?
Linseed oil.
Yeah, but I don't paint with that stuff.
Yeah. But
no, just for I got my metal.
Really, it's cheaper than terps or similar. Yeah.
Or it's big metal tub. I don't clean it finally with the linseed because it's a drying oil. So I always have to use, say, olive oil or something afterwards.
And what does the Bunnings sell it for?
About $20 for.
No. As in, like, for what purpose?
Oiling furniture.
Oh, right.
Okay. Or many things that linseed's used for.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just
I should do this because I don't like washing in turps either. First, it dries the brushes and sort of makes them brittle over time, and secondly, the stink and the smell, and you have to dispose and so on. But I didn't know that budding sell linseed oil. All right, okay, that's gonna be my.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's very yellow. It's like I put it in my tub with the little doobies to hold all my brushes in.
Yeah. Okay, because the linseed oil I buy for like occasional oil painting that I do, I mean, it's obviously good and it's expensive and it's refined.
Very
and
refined.
and I use it to paint and and stuff. But okay, good. Well, cheers.
Cheers.
I promise next weekend, hopefully, I will make carrot cake again.
Well, I just have to make a quick apology to Maz. If you're listening on headphones, I'm going to eat anyway, even though you suggested I don't. So, sorry.
I'm just going to eat without any apologies.
Okay, fair enough. I'm
going to eat no apologies.
I'll just try to eat quietly. Yeah. In the past, I'd be sitting here smoking a pack of cigarettes, but that doesn't happen now.
Speaking of which, I have some. Oh, you shouldn't have mentioned now I want to smoke. Maybe we should.
In here?
No, not in the studio, just outside.
Outside?
When we take a break.
If we have a break, we'll... No, I'm not.
Well, another thing I realized that I didn't take a piece of paper with the things I wanted to talk today about. So we kind of have to make a break.
Make a break now?
Yeah.
Okay.
What are the news on this side?
Well, I've been part of an exhibition drawn together with 17 artists from a group I'm in called the Art Hall Group. And that was fantastic. The opening was fantastic. Great. You had a live band playing. They were awesome. The amount of people, I was outside of the gallery just as it was full capacity. People couldn't get in the door. I did suggest to gallery director when he came down, maybe we should have it in the big gallery next year. Fat chance, but we'll try. Great show, fantastic, and really good standard, high standard of work with everyone. Sold a few pieces, so it was nice. Very good. Yeah, it was interesting. At this group we have 1 hour poses, life painting, life drawing, and I like to challenge myself and do 1 hour study in oil, and not touch it afterwards. That's it. Just keep it alla prima, finished. So I had 20 odd, just little sheets of canvas. I put it into a folder and put the folder on a stand at the exhibition. Thought, okay, I'll display them this way. It was strange. It worked so well. It created a bit of a frenzy. People are flicking through. Oh, I want that one. I want that one. It's almost like this sort of collecting vibe you get, I need to get one of these, and they were only cheap too. So, which is, people were saying, they're way too cheap. I had them at $150 each. They're just on a loose canvas. I said, no, look, I've got so many and I've picked out my favorites, and it's nice for people to be able to afford to take something.
Yeah.
I had my other pieces on the wall, which were more expensive. They were studio pieces, of which I just sold 2 today. Thank you, Angela, for doing the sale. So, and one of those pieces was the one that you liked.
Yeah, the one of the pieces was, you brought it here, I think. We talked about this, and I really liked it. And then I saw the other twin piece, and I liked it probably even more in some way. But I liked both of them, and I was thinking, maybe I should get one, but now too late.
So that's
that's really cool.
Oh, it was such a good exhibition.
I have to say, because I came to the opening.
Yeah.
It was, to me, it was way too busy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was like borderline, like claustrophobia. Yeah. I mean, I don't have claustrophobia. I was just very but the music was great. I like this kind of soft, jazzy, relaxing music. It was great atmosphere. I was surprised in a good way and impressed by the quality of works of the art hall group members. It's real good. I would say that this exhibition is better than many, if not most, exhibitions in the main gallery by the quality of the work. There was kind of similar themes through different artists. There was like surreal approach a few artists had.
Actually, there's more and more popping up.
Yeah, it was so good, and I
surrealist.
liked all different takes. I really, really enjoyed the artworks, and it's just so good. Excellent, well done. I have to say, very well done. No,
Yeah,
I'm
we're all
impressed.
very happy with it. A few of the artists did some demonstrations yesterday and last weekend. Mike Worrell, Peter Smith, and who else did a couple of others. I was asked to do one myself, but I did one last year, which was great. Loved it. I just haven't had the mind space to organise myself to do a demonstration. It's a performance, and yeah, you have to be right into it. I think I had about 10 people last year, which is, I'm used to doing demos with my students, but like I've said before, I do profess that it will possibly fail, which is all right in the classroom setting because they like to see that. But when you're working on a demonstration and exhibition, you have to succeed.
They were like, ha 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 ha. But you can always claim, oh, this is just a contemporary take,
Yeah, yep.
Because there is a great little movie, The Exit Through the Gift Shop. Have you watched that one? It's about Banksy and the street artists and what's the good and bad artists, and like you can always claim, oh, this is a contemporary take. It's not meant to be beautiful or resolved.
Unfinished. Yeah.
What else?
Well, I've been given 2 murals to do in Gosford, the new Gosford strip precinct. It's a whole bunch of businesses together, instigated by Juan from the Funhouse and joined up with all the other businesses, and they're actually going to make Gosford come back alive, night atmosphere. Yeah, so they've asked me to do a couple of murals, so I'm working on designs at the moment just when you're dealing with windows that take up a lot of space, you sort of have to work around that. But yeah, I'll do it.
That's
cool. Fun.
That's cool.
It gets harder though doing murals the older you get, especially when you're down on the ground. You got to get up, down and up and down, and maybe I'll lose weight while I'm working on it. So, no, looking forward to it. Yeah, it'd be good.
That's cool. That's cool.
How about you? What have you been up to?
Well, a lot of the time I spent in bed reading a book. I want to talk about that book actually a little bit today because I had COVID. Oh, that was a nasty one. For all out there who are yet to get COVID, hopefully you are immune or don't catch it. But this COVID was I had a show at Wagstaff for a sculpture exhibition.
Should come to that.
Yeah, but it was great for me. First of all, it was less artists this time, and I have chosen a different strategy. Last time I just brought like a studio, large, complex pieces with meaning and sort of deeper reflections, the types of artworks that I enjoy doing. And they are expensive and they are kind of maybe sophisticated and sort of require time and contemplation by people. And I had great feedback last time, but I didn't have no sales. I think the cheapest artwork I had was probably $3,500 or maybe even $4,000. And I didn't bring any bronzes last time. And this time I decided I'm gonna do 180 degree. I'm gonna bring smaller works that are sort of either my studies or sort of fun-ish pieces. And I had a collection of snails, which I think we spoke on one of the podcasts, at least on one of them. I brought three snails, different emotions representing pride, confidence, and love, where the love is two snails kissing. And this is the most complex one because they are two snails and they are kind of kissing and they are intertwined. And I was thinking, like, if people don't like snails, they would probably dislike that one the most. And because of the nature of the snail kissing architecture, they have to be somewhat flattish, and so it's a sculpture that is not upright, but it's sort of arranged horizontally, almost, because but I had great feedback about that sculpture. It was almost sold, but they chose another snail, which was surprising to me. People respond to the kiss quite well, even though it's not a typical kind of arrangement where the sculpture is somewhat upright or can be viewed from without thinking and looking under and stuff like that. So I sold two pieces, two bronzes, and my works were amongst, if not the most expensive. Not because they were the largest, but because they were bronzes, and bronzes can't be cheap. And so I sold 50% of the works that I basically brought there. I sold my final platypus that I had left, and I sold one snail, and I brought two snails back. So that was good. And that day, on Saturday, I realized that something is off, and I'm feeling quite well. So I came home. I thought, I'm going to do a test. And sure enough, COVID.
Yep.
And Jeff was off sick the week and 2 weeks before. He wasn't off work, but he was just kind of groggy and not feeling great. And so I said, maybe you should do a COVID test as well. And so that we discovered, as usual, that Jeff brought COVID from childcare. And so, but I was kind of initially happy because it only took me 3 days kind of in bed, and then I started recovering. I made new waxes for the additional bronzes and so on. And then I had like heart palpitations and arrhythmia. Like cold symptoms wise, I was feeling better, but this kind of thing set me off. So I had to go to hospital, and luckily there was nothing. Like, my heart is fine. It turns out that the virus has this side effect, and it can disbalance the muscles, the inflammation start happening, and this can cause like arrhythmia. And so with that, I spent like a week going between doctors, confirming that there is nothing, ruling out, wearing like a Holter monitor, where you are attached to your heart for 24 hours and they record you continuously and so on. Anyway, so that was a couple of weeks kind of wasted time because of that. Yeah. So what else happened? I had I wouldn't call it a super profound effect, but there was a moment of extreme beauty I had been part of. A few days ago, Jeff and we just went for a drive. I needed to go to Wyong to pick up the reliefs from the art house. And then we went on a drive through Tukli, all the way behind the entrance towards north, I forgot. And then on the way back, we stopped by the lighthouse. Forgot what's the... Norahhead, yeah, lighthouse. And the sun was setting and the light was so warm and lovely and soft and warm light. And it was lighting up the lighthouse, which is beautiful white color. And there were not many people, and the trees and that light. Oh, it was just, it was ecstatic moment. Like, I just stood there watching that beautiful reflection of the setting light on that white lighthouse, and I was contemplating the beauty of the lighthouse, the architecture. It was just so stunningly beautiful, and I was just so happy about that.
The colors that go through that, blues in the shadows with the pinks and hot reds from the sunset.
The reds, the reds and oranges mostly this time.
I love Norahhead. That's my beach where I go to from Wyong. So, or head Soldiers Beach, Hargraves, Jenny Dixon's here. Nice area.
Good, good. Yeah, I haven't been there before, so.
Oh, I'd do anything to move out there near the beach.
No, it's lovely spot. What else was happening?
I have to mention one thing. The Wagstaff show you were in. I noticed a friend of mine, Gabby Parnanen. I don't know if you met her. She was in the show. There was I saw a picture of her on the Instagram post.
It's not the lady that lives in Pearl Beach.
No. She's only young, probably under 30. Lives.
Is that the lady with dark hair? Dark long hair.
50% of ladies have dark hair. But yeah.
Yeah, but there are not so many young artists there, so you see.
Yeah, she has long dark. I think she had tied up. She's incredible. I've known her for a while. Haven't seen her for a while though.
Do you know which sculptures she had on the show?
Not sure which ones, but she has. She's been working on stainless steel sculptures.
Yeah, I think I know her.
She does taxidermy. She works with Earth puppeteering company that travel the world. That's where I first met her, because we did a big workshop, about 22 artists from the coast with Earth, and she ended up doing an internship with them, and it's been the best thing for her. But she's incredible. She paints, sculpts, taxidermies, puppet makes, performs. Yeah, the whole family's incredible, actually.
Yeah, I think I know. I think she had a call out last time. She was like a speaking artist, and I think she got some funding from the Buddhist Society last year. But this year I saw her again. I think it's her.
The beauty of being under 30 is getting funding. I'm trying to convince a friend of mine who's 26, comic artist, Alex from Life Drawing. Yeah. Hi, Alex. I'm going to push him. He wants to publish a book, and the funding is ridiculous. How much they want to charge him for printing. So I said, well, you're under 30. The amount of scholarships or funding, grants, etc., for your age group, this is it. You jump onto that opportunity.
Exactly.
I'm going to help him find something, because
and there was another good example. There is a sculpting atelier school, great one in Florence, and one of the leaders there is gosh, I'm so bad with names, so I Robert Bodum, I think. Anyway, so he published a book, but he needed funding to print it on sculpting, and he created a Kickstarter campaign, and he collected circa 60,000 Australian dollars. I mean, granted, he's quite well known because he's running the school and he's been doing it for quite some time. Robert Bodum, yes, and I pledged a little bit because I just want his book with an autograph. I think he's a great artist, and he created like great school day in Florence. And so a lot of people helped, shared, and paid, and that was like $70 per book. So but you get book, once you pledge your money, then you will receive a book once it's published. And so he had a contract with some publishing company in Britain that he had to write a book, and then he made contract, and they got the funding, and now that publishing company will do the printing and distribution, and it's all connected with Kickstarter and Patreon or Kickstarter. I think it was a Kickstarter platform. It worked very well.
Wow.
Maybe something like that should be done. And talking about Alex, last time he did a whole series of comics on the live drawing.
That's the one I'm talking about.
Yeah,
he wants to get that published.
He should.
He showed me the final draft the other night, and it looks amazing. There's you and Katerina speaking in Russian.
Yeah. I saw
some. But he says, I don't want to know what it means. I went, well, I do. I'm a bit curious, so I have to ask Katerina what it was.
For starters, he should just print it, smaller copies, and
Mm.
sell it amongst the people who come to live drawing.
He was thinking about doing a cut down version, like a zine, doing the zine fest, just to drum up some interest. I'm trying to convince him to post a few things on Instagram, and then eventually work towards getting a grant to full publish. I think it's really worthwhile. That guy's got talent.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
really
absolutely.
does. And he's a hard worker, prolific. I may have stated once talked about him once before on a podcast, saying he produced like 300 and something pages in a week. He heard that and he said, "What do you think I am?" He said, I may do 30 a week, but I can't do that many.
Well, just an
I
order
said,
of
well, I'm
magnitude.
allowed to exaggerate, Alex. It's all
Still a
good.
lot. I asked him whether he wants to come to the podcast and talk to us. He
we'll
said,
have to get him in.
Yeah,
for sure.
So we'll get him invited.
Mm-hmm.
What else? So despite all of that, I created 7 waxes for bronzes. Sent them off. I've made some progress on the reliefs, and I finished all the backing, so they all reinforced, and maybe another 3 or 4 days, and I will start packing them in crates, which I can't wait to free up that part of my studio where I normally sculpt. Yeah, that's been and of course, when I was sick, I couldn't really walk all that much because I felt kind of dizzy and weak and so on. I thought I'm gonna do a seated sculpture when I'm seated, and the sculpture is normal, but the smaller scale. And I was working on a few years ago, I came across a YouTube video where slugs, typical leopard slugs that you can see in your garden destroying your plants, they have a particularly bizarre mating ritual where they climb up the branch and then they hang down by their own slime, and up in the air they intertwine against each other into a double helix, and then once they intertwine they release their sex organs, and these sex organs intertwine in turn. And when you watch the video, it's just absolutely bizarre the way these, first of all, they kind of almost glow in the dark, and their sex organs are white bluish and almost glowing, and they kind of obviously get very close together in a tight contact in this double helix over double helix. Anyway, I thought I want to make a sculpture for that, and so I've been working on that for a few evenings. So I need to finish that, make mold, and
would that be cast in bronze one day?
Yeah, that's only bronze because they're hanging, and I want that part of hanging to be there, part of the sculpture, and so you need to have this kind of strong connection, so that it doesn't fall off and doesn't wobble. So it will be bronze. Yeah, I will make it bronze. It's bigger than my typical snails and platypuses. It's probably 3 times more bronze than platypus would be, partly because it's going to be solid cast. Because the amount of the distance between the walls of the stick or the snails is not big enough to make it hollow, and so I'd have to cast it solid, and that would require more wax and more bronze. Therefore, that's been my few weeks. Yeah,
that could be interesting in resin as well. Yeah, but I don't know how you'd go with the hanging part. But
yeah, the resin. The thing about resin, like if it falls, it's going to be brittle there.
Right. Yeah.
All the rest of it is fine, but I do want to make it thin, like slime-like effect that they are hanging. Yeah, and so.
So what's happening in the world at the moment? Well, let's start with Australia, shall we? When it comes to what's in the news at the moment.
Well, I was so happy to see that scandal about the lady who submitted a painting that is not a copy, but very, very close to being a copy of an Archibald, I think.
Yeah, she the one that she was pulled up on, she won a $20,000 prize for one that I feel is a copy.
Yeah, it's pretty
of a Nicholas Harding painting.
Yeah, exactly.
Famous artist Nicholas Harding. I think the actual painting he did was 15 years ago or so. He's passed since, I think. And
I like his painting for the colors.
yeah,
It's not my style. It's a little bit too rough for me, for my liking. I like a bit more controlled. But I like the greens and the colors in his painting.
yeah.
And her copy had a bit more like earth colors all over, and I said it didn't stand out, the green background. And
it was next to each other.
oh no, they
It
are
was
in the
way
same shape.
past appropriation.
Yeah,
Where,
yeah.
Where
I
you
mean,
get, you look at Andy Warhol took the Last Supper, printed it up, put a few colors on it to make it an appropriation. But to have a direct copy and not use that appropriation as part of the artwork for a statement, then it's
Yeah.
just a copy.
Yeah,
Whereas
exactly.
they try to pull her. They've looked into her now. She won a prize for something else. It was another piece she did, which was a Basquiat, sort of like a
Why different
and
style altogether?
totally other style. And she was professing that she was very influenced by Basquiat. Anyway, they showed his double painting of that and hers. They weren't a perfect copy. They were, I would say, an appropriation. So I think that was acceptable, actually. I think what she did, I could see the composition, similarity in a lot of similarities, but I think she'd made it different enough to get away with. But because of the other one, Nicholas Harding, everyone's pouncing on her. So
She's a con.
she shouldn't have
Yeah.
done a direct copy. And like, yeah, everyone copies works. I remember going in the Fabulous Fakes competition back in the 90s, and that was fun. I did a copy of a Lord Leighton work, Nausicaa. But they have to be dead 70 years. You have to write your name after Lord Leighton, etc. And it's a competition between other people doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Not a competition by doing a copy of someone's work with your name only and going against other artists' original works. So that's where she went wrong there.
I mean, we all do copies. In fact, my most successful sales, I like Kandinsky, late period Kandinsky particularly, and I created 2 huge copies. I mean, bigger than the original. In fact, they are better than original, of course, because they are bigger in size. Anyway, I just wanted to decorate my house with Kandinsky, and of course, I can't spare $100 million on buying the original. Besides, it's in Pompidou Center in Paris, the sky blue Kandinsky. I just love that painting, and I copied it multiple times. I copied it on the wall as a mural in my apartment in Barcelona once. I actually called the landlord. I said, look, I want to do 2 meter by, had like 3.5 meter ceiling, so I could do 2 meter painting on the wall in the entrance. It was a beautiful apartment. I said, I'm just gonna take like 2 meter long by 1.2 meters, wide, and I just gonna paint it on the wall. Are you okay with me doing copy of this painting? And I sent them. They said, yeah, that's fine.
And that said, added 2 million to my house.
Yeah. And I spent a lot of time. It was magnified, but I had lots of fun. And then, of course, when I moved from Barcelona to Australia, I couldn't take part of the wall with me, and I didn't even ask the landlord whether she's happy if I take the wall with me. I was joking with the removalists. Because I was headhunted to Australia, I was paid for all the removals and flights and shipment containers and everything when I came to Australia. And so I had a professional removal company, Crown, doing this for me. And so they helped me pack and did all the good job, that you usually get very stressed when you move across, And I asked them, if I ask you to move that painting off the wall to Australia, would you do that? They said, yeah, we have contacts with conservation, specialists. We can invite and have a consultation if you want. We can talk. I said, no, it's just a joke, but I'm just curious whether it's possible. Yeah, we could potentially do it, they said. I wouldn't be covered, of course, by my costs of relocation, but it was funny that they were not dismissive of my, of my ask. And then I came to Australia and I painted on a canvas, this time smarter on a canvas, so I can move around with it. One Kandinsky, and then there is another Kandinsky I copied, which is far less famous but still beautiful, called Balancement. And I had them even here in the house, and then one acquaintance of mine said, well, can you bring them to my house? Maybe we can do a deal. And I brought them and I sold them, but I didn't hide that this is Kandinsky, this is my copy, and I sold it for what it is.
Yeah.
But that is just con, it's just she knows what she's doing, even with Basquiat, even though it was different enough to it's just disingenuous. And especially like Basquiat style and then that style is completely different. It's not just a slight variation, it's like comparing Rembrandt and Malevich,
Yeah. Look, one thing is doing these copies and selling them. First of all, it's better to be truthful. It is a copy, but to go in competition against other artists when they're trying, other artists are battling into these competitions, spending money, trying to put out their original work. I tried to compare it to, say, music, where some bands will cover someone else's song, make it their own. They're not necessarily saying it's a cover of someone's song. And a lot of people, usually younger people who haven't heard the original song, think it's theirs. As I've thought of past bands when they've, and I've not realised till down the track that they've actually covered someone else's. And that's happened a lot in music, everywhere, but it's happened a lot in art too, and not just appropriation, which is direct copies and maybe tweaking it to make it happen, like Duchamp appropriated a urinal, but
it's a shame.
What's his name? Anyway, many others. But there's also other artists that through the past that have used compositions. For instance, I love the composition of Caravaggio, but I'm going to turn into something entirely different. There's nothing wrong with that. Borrowing from other artists, that's a normal thing to do in all art forms, music, etc. It's just when you do those blatant copies, it's bad taste. Yeah.
I wonder how, like, imagine how much it impacts her.
Well, yeah,
it's just like she's gonna be never ever again will be taken seriously. And the whole like social media and everything now, her name is associated with this.
What would you do if you were in this? I know we wouldn't be in that situation, but I just had a thought that if I was in that situation and getting that bad publicity, I think I'd go all the way and start doing fraudulent copies of everything and just use that negative publicity. Would you?
No, no, because it doesn't inspire me enough to be doing it for life, or for serious. What I would do if, like, I can't imagine myself to being in this, but what I would do, I would apologize. I would record a public apology video. Maybe I'll try to explain myself, or just because she was thinking about this and impacts and what if they find out and so on. Like, she dismissed these thoughts, submitted it anyway. A few years passed, and she was like, oh, okay, I can sleep well now. Can you? Yeah. So I think the thing is, like, she went against her own conscience. She committed a crime, moral crime, in my mind.
Well, it's like that. There's a documentary. I think it's on Netflix. I forget the name of it. But this guy, he was prolific in his fraudulent activities of creating master works, but not copying artists' works. He would do something in their style and sell it off as to collectors and galleries, and he was making millions. He got caught in the end and was sent to jail. So I suppose. When you're making millions out of fraudulent activities, you should stop somewhere down the line before you get caught and move to Mexico. But he just kept going. And I tell you what, he's a fantastic painter. Like really switched on with all genre. So, but yeah, not for me. Okay.
Nah, like I'm all favor do copies in the style or do copies, but just say it's a copy. Or after, I don't know, style by Euronymous Boss or something, you know?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, just, I mean, there's nothing wrong. Like in architecture, you know, we copy successful house structures for, you know, for forever. You know, there are very, very few people can come up with original, beautiful design that will last. That's fine. We adopt, adjust, but we just, you know, have to be humble and say, you know, it's okay to borrow. Like, because I like music, classical music, and I made a little discovery for me. I'm sure musicians know about this. Bach has a composition. What's the name of it? Chacon. It's called Chacon. It's a very sort of very visceral, very emotional, kind of deep piece, like a cry. It starts like a cry, but it's based on a dance, I think, Spanish dance. Originally, he was inspired and he created this composition. And then there is a couple of bars where the notes are similar to Rachmaninoff's number 3 beginning, the piano composition. It's different rhythm and different sort of duration, slightly different of some notes, but I think 2 bars of carbon copy melody.
Yeah.
And Rachmaninoff opens his 3rd piano concerto. It's one of the most famous melodies. And it's a copy of 2 bars of second page of Chacon. It's only 2 bars, so it's not like half a page or anything. It's not even the whole line, but I was surprised, and it sounds authentic in Rachmaninoff way. It didn't copy this kind of the rhythm and everything, but just the harmony was copied.
Was anything done about this, or it was just?
No, I think it's.
part of
I think
history?
within music, I think it's fine. Like 1 or 2
No,
bars.
Depends who owns the rights. to
Yeah,
things.
and then Bach was, what is it, 17th century, and then Rachmaninoff is 19th, 20th century for the, you know, so it's like 3 centuries apart.
That helps. Yeah.
Yeah,
When
you
you're
know.
that close to, say, 15 years of Nicholas Harding painting to this painting.
Yeah.
Or even was it Men at Work, Australian band. So back in the 80s, they put out a song, Land Down Under, I think it was, with the flute doing this do 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 do, and it's actually Kookaburra sits in the old gum tree. So they were doing it in a nice, like an ode to Australian, little songs. But this, I think, is an American couple or something, bought the rights to that Kookaburra song and jumped on them, ruined them, like wiped them out financially. So I suppose it depends on who owns the rights to an image or a piece of music and how nasty they are, you know. So
yeah, it varies a lot between different countries and jurisdictions, and it's hard to say what the legal implications was. But what I'm prepared to say without any kind of legal reference in my words is just, it's in my mind, it's a condemnation what that lady, like, it's condemnable offense, moral offense, you know, ethical. She knew what she is doing. She put hours in copying it. She had that print or a digital screen image of that painting for many hours. She submitted that painting pretending it's her original artwork, won the prize,
won $20,000
yeah,
for it.
took the money and hoped that no one would ever notice it. And she, you know, she's just not smart. She's stupid, but also she's unethical. I think it's just con artist, you know, really. That's what she is.
Isn't it funny? She'll go down in history. People will know her name. So,
like what's the English spelling for Herostratus? Herostrat is the guy who burned the churches and wanted to get famous by destroying like cathedrals and churches and stuff. And then there was in Greece, is it not? Greek story. And then there was like a decree and a cultural calling within the society to forget his name.
All right.
And everyone remembered his name because there was so much promotion that everyone should forget his name, that
Okay.
his name was remembered.
Right.
I don't know how to pronounce it in English because I read this story back when I was in Russia like 20 something years ago, but there is a kind of famous story about that. Yeah. Yeah, so that's that. I don't know what else to say. It's just a shame in my mind. It's a shame that she did it. Yeah, if I were her, I would record a video, public video, and apologize. And
Well, if she was wanted to save face with the research on appropriation in history of art, maybe a bit late now if she hadn't stated it before, but she might be able to soften the blow a bit by talking about Andy Warhol, Lichtenstein, and all those that appropriated major works in the past. Although the ones they did appropriate were from centuries before, hers was much closer.
I don't know. To me,
Yeah,
it's not about saving her face. If you want, I don't know a better term for that, but she should save her karma.
sure. Yeah.
You know, her consciousness needs to be, you know, restored a little bit within herself by just acknowledging and saying where she was wrong publicly, because she intentionally deceived big number of people, profited from it. Now it's publicly available. She just should say and acknowledge all her guilt and the gravity of it. That's would be my advice to her, not because she needs to save her face or anything, but just so that, you know, she can sleep better at night.
I have to make a confession to an old friend, Casey Seeley. I did a copy of one of his paintings. He's a master landscape painter. For my students, I did a demonstration of one of his. It just had the right light, it had the right style, it had the right technique, and I spoke about him while I was painting it. I said, "You guys need to look him up," and because we were talking about particular ways of painting landscape with the darks, intense darks first, etc., bring them out, values, close values. And I did this nice little piece based on one of his paintings. And someone said, "Oh, can I buy it off you?" I went, "No, God, no. This is a copy of a Casey Seeley. You can have it though." So I just gave it to them. And, you know, it wasn't exactly the same, but it was, you could tell it was a copy. I didn't sign it no, it was just, there you go. Use it for study. But yeah, that's what I think. If someone in the future did that to me, you know, copied one of my works for students, I'd be quite chuffed. I think that's
Yeah,
great.
I think there's nothing wrong. It's
nothing
just
wrong.
don't lie that it's your original idea and composition and light and colors and stuff. Just say that this is study after or a copy of. I think we are all better artists for copying artworks. The problem is, it's not that she did it. The problem is that she lied.
Yeah.
That's what essentially lied publicly and benefited from the lie, deceiving people. That's what the wrong thing about it.
And the funny thing about AI, like these days, you know, it's people using AI is where is, we probably spoke about this before, but where is the AI machine picking up this imagery from?
I think we should talk properly about AI today. We kind of mentioned AI a few times before, but didn't want to go down that rabbit hole just on those previous episodes. But we should talk about this. But before we go there, I want to tell you the book that I read. Because that made, I've been reading it. It's a big book, like nearly 500 pages. I should stop eating since I'm talking about this, right? There is an American sculptor, artist, female, of the late 1920s, 30s, all the way to 1950. She isn't so well known outside of the States. Her name is Malvina Hoffman. but she's been quite big and still rather famous in the States. She passed away in, towards the late of 20th century. And she's been quite famously connected with a lot of famous artists at the time. She was friends with Pavlova, the ballerina. She was a pupil and a friend of Rodin himself. She spent a lot of time in France working and studying with Rodin and, doing some work, exhibitions. She's got a few large commissions across Europe and mostly States. And at one point, and she wrote 3 books. I read 2 of the 3, and I'm waiting for the third one to arrive. One of the books is just a guide how to sculpt and sort of just overall techniques and studio organization and approaches to sculpture. It's not particularly detailed methodology on how to sculpt a figure or anything like that, but it's just an overview of what sculptor's life and approach to organizing his work or her work should be. And I loved that book, and this is the first book I read like maybe a year ago. I liked it for the language. It's just written in such a simple but very personal language, and a lot of intertwined perspectives that she has on art and the spirit of crafting something and making something good and beautiful and meaningful, and the book permeates this, and the attitude an artist needs to have when an artist is doing or working on a piece. So it's not just the mechanics of it, it's how you sort of fell in love with the work that you are doing, or with the object that you are portraying, or with the feeling that you are trying to express, and so on. And it's just so beautifully and meaningfully written. And so I got to the second book, and the second book mainly details her travel across 5-year period in the 1930s, when the Great Depression was raging in the States. She had a commission from one of the anthropological, I think, museums to create what they call a Hall of Man, or mankind. And she was to travel across the world and depicting different races of people in sculpture, portraiture and full figure, life size. And she traveled Africa, multiple countries, and then Asia, Japan, all the way to the north of Japan, where Ainu live, the Aboriginal Japanese people. And then through China, at the time where there was tensions between Japan and China in the 30s. And she had to flee that just on time, and then through Burma and Mandalay and Philippines and India, and all the way back to France, where she finished the bronzes. And it's just the reason I'm kind of depicting all that journey through Africa to Asia. And she talks quite, it's practically 100 years ago. No phones, no fast way of communicating. I think there were telegraphs at times in some parts of the world, but there were cars already, but very few and far between. But the living conditions, the simplicity of life, how they had to travel. Being a sculptor, it's not just 50 or 100 rolls of canvas and a few boxes of oil paints and brushes. That 35 crates of materials and clay
she was
with her.
sculpting around the world. She wasn't
Yes.
just getting sketches
No.
and things to do back in the
No,
studio.
she was sculpting.
Wow, that's
from live models that she
dedication.
had to convince people. And a lot of the what she called, and some people think it's a dismissive language, I don't think so, but she called primitive races. So for example, a tribe in Borneo somewhere, but she had to convince a lot of the Aboriginal people that this is, and they were very reluctant to do so, very often. Both of the Native Americans and she had some troubles in Africa, but mostly in Native America and Asia were the troubles. And so she would do lives like in all these conditions without proper studio, in the 40-something degree heat. It's so great. The collection of stories from that book, you feel for the time that has gone by now, the authentic tribes that she could get in contact with still at the time. It wasn't destroyed. The authentic foods, culture, languages, how she had to navigate it all. She did, I can't remember exact figures, more than 100 sculptures on her journey.
Wow.
These are life-size sculptures, Russell.
So she would work on them, send them back to Paris.
She would work on a model.
Yeah.
Then they would make a mold. They would do plaster cast. And then this plaster cast, they would accumulate a few dozen of them. And then they would ship it to France, and they move on, and then a few dozen shipped to France. And then all these plaster casts would wait in Paris.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of her trip, she went to Paris and spent some months working in foundry, casting them.
Wow.
From the plaster casts.
Wow.
Only one finger broke in transportation of a plaster cast.
Amazing. Considering, like you said, the travel, etc., to do that fragile load. Wow, what a life! That's incredible.
She was exhausted by the end.
I bet.
And the malaria and all the diseases and snakes and
what an adventure, though.
So amazing book. Real, like there is no electronic copy. There is no audio book. It's a physical book. It's printed like long time ago. The book I'm reading is from 1930s, I think late 30s. The book is called Heads and Tails by Malvina Hoffman.
Okay.
Fantastic. So well written.
I'll have to borrow it from you.
Yeah, happy to. Yeah. And lots of illustrations. It's one of the first books with photographs printed in them, lots of them. So you really get a feel for the people that she met and the tribes and cultures.
Yeah.
Amazing. Very good. Very good. I couldn't put it down. Like I couldn't read for too long because I was kind of weak. But when I, read, I just dive in and, it's such a tasty language. She is an amazing writer, very good writer.
In English, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah. I can't speak Russian.
Yeah.
So how have you gone with the Irving Stone Agony and Ecstasy?
Yeah, the Michelangelo's Agony and Ecstasy.
Did you finish that?
I'm two-thirds through the book. I mostly listen to it when I'm in the studio working. But because I was listening to it a bit when I was sculpting the slugs, but I didn't finish it yet. I love the book. Very well written. Yeah. Yeah. The thing is, I also spent a week watching a TV series on Medici, and before then I read another book on Michelangelo, and because I was watching Medici TV series, I finished another Michelangelo book prior to that, and then I was listening Agony and Ecstasy audiobook. Things started getting confused in my mind.
Yeah.
And I watched I think a movie on Da Vinci, which is overlapping with, and so like, oh God, it was a bit too much. Of the Renaissance.
That's why I find it hard to read a novel while I'm working on a series of paintings, because it melds with my own concepts and imagination, and I try to avoid that, because if I do read a novel, I become part of that world, and it gets a bit carried away sometimes. When I read the Vampire Lestat series back in the early 2000s, and running around the city in my velvet jacket, pretending to be a vampire, I did take things on too seriously. So I'm careful what I read when I'm working on a series of work. Once I've sort of finished that and I'm ready for a lull, so go into a novel.
It's interesting you're saying, because Malvina Hoffman in her book also said about the difficulty she had keeping different models apart, because often she had to work on multiple sculptures at the same time from different people and different projects, and how she had to sort of compartmentalize things in her mind to not allow things to spill over from one to another, from one model to another, from one race into another race, because she wanted to capture the essence of
That
and the beauty of a particular tribe or a race. And she was very, very conscious about avoiding the cross-contamination almost. That's a sort of a very non-artistic challenge, that we face. Yeah.
Yeah, I love how artists go to something opposite to their own culture. What an amazing thing to do. I was reading about William Dobell, when he went to New Guinea, sketching people in the tribes, up on stilts, these houses they built. So in this book, the paintings and the sketches are in the book. So a lot of pictures as I'm reading through, and then this is the one that James Gleason wrote.
The Gleasons, yeah,
which I have to bring over.
Yeah.
He's great. But then he'll, as he's writing, as the book unfolds, references to those paintings pop up. So I've got on one hand the book reading, the other hand my phone to go and pick up some of these images. Oh, right, yeah. So it's great. Just taking twice as long to read because I'm constantly referring to the images he's talking about. But
I'm a slow reader anyway. I sort of savor the pages. I don't like to rush. The quickest reading mechanism for me is an audiobook, but if I read by myself, I actually much slower.
Yeah.
Because I sometimes stop and think and imagine and.
Yeah, but that's the thing with me with audio is in the studio trying to work, I get carried away with the audio. And I realise I've been standing there for half an hour listening and having a laugh and agreeing with them. And thinking, what am I doing?
Yeah, that's a challenge.
That's why I switch it back to music when I'm actually painting. But
when I'm writing something or working on a computer or something, I can't listen to music.
Oh, yeah.
I can listen to some relaxing, calming sort of music, but that doesn't have much of a melody. But if I can't listen for classical music, for example, but I can when I'm sculpting. It's a different part of the brain.
Yeah.
But when my linguistic brain is involved, I can't listen to music.
Oh, of course, yeah.
For some reason, I don't know. But when I'm sculpting, music is fine. The audiobook is fine.
Yeah, like when I'm painting, and I'm not thinking about the concept. I'm not thinking about the narrative. I'm just painting automatically. I've already thought about that, or I'm thinking about it in the process. But the actual act of painting, especially starting one, I've already worked out what I want to do, and then the act of physically putting it on there, I like the rhythm of it, So I'll put something faster on to get that rhythm. Cover this camp like this. Fairly, it's not huge, but it's a nice size. And this was part of my New Zealand series. I had 5 months to do 12 paintings, so it was quite fast. Yeah, so rhythm of music just pushes me through it.
Let's talk about the painting a little bit.
Okay, yeah. This is my trip to New Plymouth, Taranaki, in 2023 with my wife, and we met up with Tom, my old mate painter, musician and novelist. Took us everywhere. I've probably mentioned this before. We've been to other artist studios, but he took us to these great landmarks, and this is down the Stony River and looking up the Stony River to Mount Taranaki volcano, which is seen by all of that area of New Plymouth, etc. Even from Tom's back balcony, you can see every day the changes in this mountain. It's incredible. So yeah, down the Stony River, the water was this gem-like turquoise. There were big old dead logs and trees everywhere, which eventually washes down into the ocean, which is why that whole coastline was littered with driftwood coming out of the rivers. The stones were just, there's so many images in the stones, I couldn't believe it. So they started to turn into things like a bit of a bull skull looking thing coming out of this. So it already sort of lent to a bit of semi-surreal quality, you know. But I like the format, and the reason why the format was all of my paintings I did at this width, whether they were smaller or not, so I could roll them up into a post pack and mail them over there, and then stretch them up when I was there. So it's funny, those parameters that you put on sizes for different reasons. Because of this, they all have this sort of uniformity to it. I did this one diptych 2-piece, which I sold over there. There was 2 of these panels here. It worked well.
Cool.
But it's, you know, it's a nice, almost a semi-abstract bit of representation. I like the color scheme of it because I find those with the violets and the cools over in New Zealand totally different to here. Yeah.
No, it's very atmospheric as a painting. I feel like you can sort of sit in front of it and imagine. I like that, as you say, skull-like shape, but also there is like a neck coming out of it on the back, and there is almost like, I don't know, goats or sheep's head.
Yeah. It's interesting because the log that was coming from behind this rock had all these algae and moss hanging from it. It looked like a sheep's head. Yeah, so it lent it to it straight away.
Yeah, it's so cool. Yeah. Very nice.
Yeah, that was nice. It's fun. I feel like though there's technical aspects I'd like to throw back into it, but nah, I'll just leave it. I should have really pushed that mountain further back. It's too stark.
No, I like it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's too crisp. But you know, forced perspective has already got that perspective in it. So, but it's and it fits nicely on a slice of wall in the house. So you know,
yeah, it's unusual format for a painting. Yeah, and on a narrow part of the wall. Yeah, it's just going to be beautiful.
Well, I've done a couple of local landscapes, plein air, on very narrow but very long pieces, and I sold one to a lady. She said, "Oh, it's perfect. It'll fit right there. That I can't fit anything else in."
That's cool. Yeah.
So it's a nice little thing to muck around with.
I think I was thinking in terms of my house, where would this go nicely? You know that there are always, like many houses, there are staircases from, say, ground floor to the first floor, and there is always kind of narrow enough space on this above the staircase where you can sometimes mount something like tall and narrow.
All that space, dead space there.
Yeah. So things like that. Yeah, definitely.
Perfect.
Let's make another cup of tea.
Let's make a cup of tea. Okay.
The topic we didn't quite deep dive into is the AI. And we should talk a little bit more about, well, we should talk about it, I think. And I was thinking, how do we even approach the AI thing? There is obviously kind of artist perspective of AI. And we can talk about that, but there is also a broader societal impact of AI.
And when I talk to other artists, every artist is different with their opinion on AI. Some are violently against it, and some midway, some love it. And then you talk to that person 2 weeks later and they've changed their mindset again. So as AI develops, we're constantly changing and evolving our idea of what it is and what it does and how its negatives and positives. Like it's still recognizable, but it's becoming harder to pick out some of these things that are being developed. And it's just from my point of view, I'm intrigued with anything new visually, but I'm also a bit miffed because it's in a way making everyone have the wild imagination that I've prided myself on over the years. Like I've created artworks that were in the surreal sense, imaginative realism, etc. Now anyone can do it with the press of a button, type in a few things, and you've got this amazing sort of imaginative creation. But then I'm starting to see the backlash of that. So the things like there's a prize I just entered, the Beautiful Bizarre magazine prize, set in San Francisco. It's LA.
No, Beautiful Bizarre is Australian.
Yeah, but I think they're based in California at the moment because I had to pay the exchange rate.
Yeah, no, they do international business,
Yeah.
but it's Amidale.
Daniela and her
They were in
husband.
Amidale like a year ago
Yeah.
when I had a conversation with her. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I met them years ago through a friend of mine, Graham, who was put into the magazine with his work. I had drinks with them in Sydney, and it was taking off quite well back, and now it's just gone international. It's incredible.
No, they've done an excellent job.
And they just had a show.
We should talk about them separately because it's
Separately.
a whole different rabbit hole.
The reason why I mentioned them was because in the criteria for the competition was there must not be any AI involvement, including reference, including anything, because understandably, this is the realm of what I mentioned, imaginative realism, etc., and surrealism, pop surrealism, lowbrow.
Yeah.
They can quite easily be created by AI, but it takes away from all the artists that are involved in this realm of art. And so, it's a good sort of criteria to have in their terms and condition. Whereas then you get in different fields like what's his name? Well-known artist in Sydney. He actually uses AI as a tool, not to recreate an image, but feeds it information to feed him information and images that he then reinterprets into a painting, fine art sort of thing. So there's different ways that can work for people or be negative.
I was thinking, like, in terms of the art world, let's just talk about the art impact on the art. How do I relate AI to, or what do I relate it to? And I was thinking, well, first, there was the invention of the printing press and the books, right? The mass production of books during the Renaissance time.
Which put the scribes out of work.
Well, no, there were more people actually employed because all this printing started happening and books became affordable. I mean, they were not scribing by hand a lot, but there was still a lot of skill that needed of the similar caliber. I don't know of the impact on the immediate scribers of the day, but I think it took a while to roll out the technology. It wasn't. But of the time of Michelangelo, the books have started becoming a bit more available and accessible. So people could actually buy. Michelangelo could buy some books. There were books available, like the Vasaris, the on the Architectura, and what's his name? I forgot. Anyway, so that was one technological wave. Then the other technological wave when radio was invented, when the conversation became accessible to people through radio, more accessible than books, and the photography got invented on the scale of centuries about the same time. Photography had a big impact on the visual arts. I think it was feared by a lot of artists. But at the end of the day, we don't really fear photography anymore as competitors to artists. If anything, everyone uses that as a reference. Oh, not everyone, but most artists. So a lot of artists use photography as a reference, and it's part of our daily life now. Then obviously TV and camera and videos were invented, and that was another big change with the moving picture. We adjusted to that, and then the internet, where everything became on demand with a click of a button. So trying to think about AI, where does it fit in all of this? I think it's probably like, in terms of visual arts impact, it's probably like conventional photography in some sense. It's not the same, but in terms of the impact, it probably would be similar, because it does help to render things from verbal description. It can manipulate bodies when we talk about figurative artworks into different positions very, quickly and with more confidence than you do. Nowhere near as good as if you have a model, but especially for sculptors, it's not good, because you would really want to see a three-dimensional object rather than a two-dimensional photo, which loses a lot of its,
Then you've got 3D printers, which is also
3D printers. Yeah, 3D printers, I think, is going to be less impactful. The thing about, if we talk about sculpture and we talk about like high-end proper sculpture, it's usually bronze or marble, and 3D printers can't do bronze
yet.
I don't think they will. Not to the good finish, not to the surface finish, the smooth, and it's cheaper, quicker, and easier would be to get proper molding process and so on. And then for 3D printer, I mean, you can print it from a digital, but most artists create physical, like so, like modeling, because it allows this tactile connection to the figure that you don't get in the computers. I'm not saying that you can't make great sculpture artworks in digital and then 3D printed. You can, but most artists prefer to work physical. Like painters, they prefer to use oil on canvas and push it around with a brush, rather than do it on computers.
Yeah. Can I just say something on that?
Yeah.
Like, I have seen the AI robotic paint with a brush.
Yeah.
But I've spoke to other artists about this, and it's very mechanical. Even though they come across like, say, an impressionist painting, it's still very mechanical. They haven't got the nuance of the human. Hasn't got the fingerprints in it. Hasn't got the little bit of magic that a human can put into a painting, for instance. They haven't got there yet. I don't know if they will get there. AI will develop so far to surpass humans in the future.
It's not the AI, it's the robot. It's not the intellect, so to speak. It's the embodiment, the gesture, the the shaky or certain marks on the canvas. It's just the mechanical aspect of it is not good, and that's why when there are speculations about what's the threat of AI, it's usually to the jobs that work on computer, and less so to the people that work with their hands, like artists or plumbers or builders. Because even though it looks simple to put a house together or to make a plumbing, you don't need to study for 10 years for that, and anyone can do it with enough audacity. Literally anyone can do plumbing, simple plumbing in their house, maybe badly, but it's possible. But I think that's where the problem is that we are not able to create bio-like robots that can do that. But even like if we could forget the physical action of adding oil or pigment on canvas, but let's say just stay comparing digital images of Gen AI with paintings by artists. the interesting thing about Gen AI images, they all have this artificiality about them, at least for now.
Yeah, for now. We're in that moment of the invention of the camera.
Yeah,
With
maybe.
painters. So we're in that unsure time. But in the future, we'll adapt and realize the difference, which we are starting to realize.
I don't know, like when I create, like even for our logo for the podcast, I created it with Gen AI. You can feel like it's not human. You look at it, it's not quite right, you know.
Well, even with the Chat GPT to do a say, I mucked around with some images that I was putting in an exhibition. I thought, oh, let's see if we can do some write-ups for me, you know. So I put in my painting with the title and my purpose for it. Write me up a concept based on this image, just to see what it come out with. And it came out with some all right things, but the language of it for each one was so similar that you start to realize, God, that sounds like artificial intelligence. You know, it's so either I will take elements of that out and write it in my own words. I'm not going to put it up straight like that because
that's right.
you put out 6 of them together, they
all
all feel the same. You know,
exactly.
so there's that difference.
And so the digital images too, it can help with some generating some, for example, for surrealist paintings ideas. It helps to experiment before you start working on something. Let's say in composition, and you say, well, I want an image where there are two people and the ocean behind them and the green field in front of them, and they're running towards it, and move them to the left, move them to the right, make them younger, and you kind of can experiment like that, and then put it into like an artwork as a reference. But it's going to be a little bit like photography, you know, when Mybridge was experimenting, taking quick succession of photographs of a moving human or a woman throwing water out of a bucket, and so on. So like, I think that's where it's going to be in terms of the arts. It is going to be disruptive. We're going to use it, all of us, inevitably, because one way or another, either to help us proofwrite or help compose the artist statement, or to find a better reference for an artwork, or to exchange ideas, or sometimes critique. Now, I used once because when I work on a sculpture, you kind of, your eye gets used to seeing the artwork, and you stop seeing things that need improvement, or where you are off.
That's where I bring a mirror into it.
Yeah, and I use mirrors sometimes, and I thought,
yeah.
what would happen if I take a photo and ask ChatGPT
Right.
and give me critique, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not so good, but it's just this kind of disruption that helps your brain look afresh again.
I haven't thought of doing that.
Give it a
I
go.
might try that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
try.
Halfway through a painting, when you get to that point of sitting there for 4 hours thinking, looking at it in a mirror, thinking there's something I've got to do here, and trying all these different methods to get to it. I'll try that and see what it says.
Yeah, and these methods, I don't think it takes away the human element of the creation. It's just
another tool.
Just another tool, exactly. But I think my bigger worry about Gen AI lies in the social, political side of things, rather than what the impact would be on arts.
True.
Especially on the sculpture, like, it's such a physical process to make a sculpture. It's like plumbing, you know, in terms of, like, you have to have hands, you have to have clay, you need to do it, and as you start doing it, you know, it has its own nature. It tells you what to do next sometimes, and it directs you in a way that you can't foresee, and sort of all that AI becomes redundant and not useful. But I think the social impact of it is going to be much bigger.
Yeah. What I found interesting was my father had his prostate removed by a robot. And he said it was amazing.
Da Vinci?
Da Vinci
is the robot.
I don't know. I don't know.
There is this famous surgical robot. There are videos on YouTube where they can peel the skin off a grape and then put the skin back on and stitch it together on the same grape. But it's human manipulated robot.
Yeah, I think they've still got human interaction. Yeah, so this one
Very
actually,
expensive surgeons do that job.
months later, he had a hernia, which was from a tear from that robot's operation. Now, the operation itself was very non-invasive, but it had made a mistake. So it must be that human interaction somehow. But so he had to go back in and get that fixed up. You know, so it's still in its early stages. I find the most exciting about AI is the fact that I'm putting all this data in, and they can think faster than humans when it comes to finding diagnosis for cancer and things like that. You know, I think
And more accurate, yeah.
that's mind blowing. Medical, fantastic. You know, I want to live to 140. You know, I'm quite happy for AI to be developed to do that. I want to do that because I've got so much to paint, so much to do. I can't accept not living till that at least that age. Some people shouldn't live that old, like people in my street. That
Your neighbors.
well, my neighbours are fine. It's just the people that drive past and
Yeah.
yell out things out of car windows. They should not have any access to genetic manipulation. Anyway, beside that point.
But let's. I want to say a few words about the social impact of AI on the people. I think that's where the danger is. You know, that's where where I can't find a similar in the past, a similar phenomena that emerged in the society in the past. Because when books were invented, you read a book, I don't know, on a painting or biography of somebody, you know that this is the boundaries of the book, this is how much you can learn from it. Everything outside of it is unknown. You kind of acknowledge it, and you can even as a reader acknowledge, okay, this book is not so broad and deep, I need to read more to learn more. When you interact with AI and you say, okay, well, I have this, for example, symptoms, what diseases is going to be, or I want to understand something about, I don't know, some philosophy or mathematics, it feels like you are talking to indefinitely deep and broad encyclopedia, and that's at your fingertips, all this knowledge. But it's not true. The irony of it is this: it just gives you a version based on its interpretation of your prompt or request, and this prompt, and you know, it's A, may not be accurate, B, you may not want it to share everything, and C, its interpretation is flawed very often. I see it all the time when it comes to precise things.
Well, where's it getting its source?
Well,
Where's it
it's
sourcing
just,
it from?
it takes, the way it works, it just takes everything that is out there, it ranks it it breaks it into tokens and vectors, and each vector is ranked by popularity and more likelihood of appearing. It's just like a combinatorics. It's like a probabilistic machine of finding sentences that stitch together in the most probable way in a given context of your prompt. That's how it works. It looks very convincing because it looks like a human talking back to us, but it's often very wrong.
It's a bit like the deception of Wikipedia, for instance. You know, you go on Wikipedia thinking it's the gospel truth, but actually people can put your own in
I dare
pieces
say
into it.
Wikipedia is better. Yes, it's still flawed. So as encyclopedias are flawed, if not more flawed than Wikipedia. Everything is flawed. The point is that when you read a Wikipedia article, you read all of it.
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't answer your question with one sentence. You see cross references, you navigate around, you kind of form your opinion, or you say, oh, that's too hard for me, I can't understand it, and you give up and you move on to the next thing. The problem with ChatGPT and generally AI things is that you ask a question, you get an answer, and there is always an answer, and there is no temptation to explore further, to be critical about it, to validate their response, and and it's so compelling of an answer because it talks to you like an expert on the other side of the screen, and you sort of preemptively believe into the answer that is given. My sister has a daughter, and the daughter has some genetic condition that is very complex thing, and no one really quite knows what's that. And my sister, obviously, been quite distressed by that, and the daughter is not developing properly. Muscle growth is not quite strong, and so on. And my sister spent a lot of time with AIs and trying to understand the biochemistry, the mitochondria, the DNA, RNA, protein formation, membranes, all the signaling pathways, without having any degrees in chemistry or biology or biochemistry. And I know how dangerous it could be. I have degrees in chemistry, hardcore science, and I wouldn't dare going into the cell biology or biochemistry without spending time to really understand, the basics of biochemistry. And we're talking about, maybe 10,000 pages that you need to read to get the foundations.
But I can understand why she does that.
I
Like
understand.
Dr.
She's
Google,
trying
when
to.
you're dealing with children, you'll take anything you can get.
Absolutely.
Anything. Like I've been accused by doctors of talking to Dr. Google,
Yeah.
and as they're saying that, they're on Google
Yeah.
in the office while they're
Yes.
seeing me. And I
Yes.
think, hang on. I like to do research on my own thing before I go and see a doctor, So I can understand why she's doing it, because it's you need something to think that
Totally.
you can get on, and as long as she's looking at it in a way that, okay, I'm not going to take everything for gospel what it is there. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to look at other resources as well, but
Well,
it can start the brain thinking,
well, yes, but when it comes to, when you are researching what possible disease you may have by your symptoms is one thing. But when you are trying to think as a biochemist, saying, oh, maybe that's this gene mutation that leads this protein, that leads this, mitochondrial, whatever, dysfunction, that's a whole different thing. It's like, can you become an astronomer by, I don't know, reading one book on?
No, you can't be an astronomer, but you can understand a little bit more about astronomy.
It's good to
like
no.
like
Let me just
okay, yeah.
let me clarify what I mean to ask.
No, I see what you're saying.
But
It's
you absolutely, it's good to read this stuff, and it's good to read non-fiction books on astronomy and about the space and black holes and whatnot. But as long as you have understanding of your limitations, so you don't, after reading 200-page book by The Origins of Time by, I don't know, Hawking, for example, you don't start pretending that you can calculate the trajectory of an asteroid orbiting the black hole.
Oh yeah, no, you can't. You can't think you can come up with solutions.
Yeah, exactly. You don't even know how to solve the differential equation by, by the general relativity of.
But you could do little things.
Yeah, but I'm saying that there is an illusion that with ChatGPT equipped with it, you can start getting into the depth. And I noticed that my sister is starting to reason with me in conversations about the cell biochemistry, where she can't even write a formula for sulfuric acid. Just because she spent so much time with ChatGPT. That's my point. That's the point.
Is she getting the answers she needs though from humans?
I don't know. I think it's just
it's the runaround she's probably getting from the medical people profession, and not talking to her on a level that she can understand. She's gone to look elsewhere for it. It's like my son. Okay, this is a totally different level, but my son didn't want to spend money at mechanics, and he hasn't studied as an engineer, mechanical engineer. So he went onto YouTube, and now he does his own car services. He changes everything. He does all this surgery on his car by himself and saves a lot of money. But That's not for everyone, you know, but he's able to learn fast via the information network. And I know when it comes to medical things, I've actually pulled doctors up on things when they've come at me saying you can't eat chicken skin because it's raising your cholesterol, and then the following year they say, oh yeah, you can,
Oh, yeah,
you just
yeah.
can't have sugar.
Yeah,
So each
sure.
year they change, but I'm doing the research before I go in. And for instance, saying, oh, I need to get a scan for a calcium score for my, you know, cholesterol. I need to get a prescription for beta blockers. And he goes, why? I said, because I've been told, and I've done the research, I need beta blockers before I go in for a scan. No, you don't. I said, yes, I do. So he gave me a prescription. I would have had to have another visit to him if I hadn't made that initial research.
Yeah.
Now, it's not biochemistry and
Yeah,
trying
yeah.
to solve major issues, but
It's just
yeah,
what is it?
but it gives you peace of mind when you can learn a little bit about that realm, you know.
Absolutely.
So
But
yeah,
the example I'm giving is somewhat different.
okay,
Is that where people like my sister is so self-assured after reading or interacting that she starts reasoning at the level of that biochemistry. It's not questioning or asking questions or
okay,
or suggesting. It's like, yeah, this medicine causes this, and this is the signaling pathway, and so on.
okay,
This is a different thing. One thing is if you say, well, I wanna build a slab at home. I just need concrete. You want to research what type of concrete you want, and so on. Another thing, if you want to create a concrete,
mm,
and you want to kind of quickly understand the recipe and just get the original parts that
make concrete,
sort and make
mm,
concrete, and make it yourself. It's a much harder problem.
yeah,
And I think this is where the blurry line between the expertise and sort of everyday living and craftsmanship and sort of
mm,
that comes in, and ChatGPT is guilty of that because it gives this kind of false reassurance to a lot of people that they know something. And the problem is that ChatGPT reinforces your biases because it doesn't want to contradict you or be negative to you, because they won't make you pay ChatGPT monthly subscription. And if ChatGPT is going to be mean to you or perceived mean by you, for example, because it disagrees with you too abrasively or something, or too forthrightly, then you would stop paying ChatGPT. You move to Grok or move to Gemini or move to Anthropic or something, and so ChatGPT is trying to be very nice. And so let's say you are a right-leaning person who is pissed off by something, and you're talking to ChatGPT about politics and policies and whatever. It's gonna affirm your beliefs to you. You will find evidence, which there is plenty of, to support your reason. Same with a left-leaning person. Same with a person that wants, I don't know, something house built of, I don't know, of tires or something. Yeah, you could use tires. There are plenty examples, but is it, so it's not gonna give this kind of tension that you would normally get when you talk to people and experts and so on. And they can be wrong every now and then. Experts can be wrong. You may be right, but this dialogue and tension is kind of necessary. And ChatGPT is completely removing this tension. It just sort of creates a comfortable environment whereby it makes people to be ChatGPT. I don't mean specifically, but I just generically, all the AI models just make you comfortable in your beliefs and providing you evidence to support your beliefs and affirming it. And I think this tension needs to, it's not just desirable, it's necessary in life. There is a nice experiment you can do, which I read many years about. You can draw a circle with one hand, just taking a pencil and draw a circle on paper. Or you can take a pencil with both hands and draw the circle with both hands. Now, if you are not trained specifically for drawing perfect circles on a page, you are gonna do a better circle when you hold together. And these two hands pushing one against another, holding a pencil, drawing a circle, gonna give you a more perfect circle.
Really?
Yes. So there is always a little bit better result. Or for example, when you are working on details, you know, there is this, what's it called, the stick with a soft thing that you put against on a
Mole stick.
mole stick. Yeah. So you have this a bit of tension against your hand or wrist when you draw some little details. Trees, I think I mentioned that at one of the podcasts, without wind, they don't grow strong. They fall, their roots don't develop. People that never get sick with viruses and bacteria, they grow weak, their immune system don't develop. Children, if they are not exposed to dirt and pathogens and worms and parasites, they get autoimmune conditions. It's tragedy in some sense that we need to constantly be bombarded with unpleasant things that confront us, but it appears that without that, life can't exist. It just erodes itself and dies out. And ChatGPT is not that. In my mind, it's sort of a soothing, comforting blanket that you pull over to, and so
It's skimming across the surface without getting any foundation.
And giving you an illusion that that's what you want, It's like watching porn instead of engaging in a real lovemaking with a real person that may not be perfect, but it's real.
Instant stimulation without without the longevity and the emotion.
Yeah. And the dangers I see of AI models on the society are actually coming from that. Is that we take it for granted, it becomes a very large part of our life, and this resistance, this natural need for us, we don't crave for it, but it's necessary for us to get this kind of exploration, difficulty, discovery, trial and error. It will sort of coddle us to extinction or to further weakness or political unrests or just society that is gradually deteriorate, like in the Time Machine by Herbert Wells, evolving into the alloys, the white fluffy vulnerable things that will perish one day because they can't fend for themselves, can't get food and can't do anything. So that's the danger, that's what I see. Broadly speaking, it's a very broad. There are lots of implications of this, and we can talk about this.
Well, you can talk about it forever because it's there's so many facets of AI on all different platforms, and it could go on forever. Some more sort of vital to human survival than others, like you're mentioning there, compared to say the art world. I think I don't know. It's I don't know. I'm confounded. I think I'm just as a lot of people are just sort of going with the wave at the moment and seeing what happens. At times negative against it for certain things, at times positive with it. Experimenting ourselves with it. But take it with a grain of salt. You're not going to go in and believe everything you hear because you know that it's getting its sources from the internet, from what's there already, which, like you see, 50% of that is bullshit. It's picking up things from Trump supporters or something, and putting it out as fact. Well, no, you got to remember that.
So is from Bernie Sanders supporters and all Albanese supporters. It's like, why do we have right and left parties? I mean, like the two polar opposites of the politics, because one of them in isolation will kill us. We need friction, we need competition in politics, in life, in health. It's inevitable. Otherwise, it's going to be dictatorship.
Sure.
Communism, brilliant idea, stupid, but very compelling. Soviet Union, how many 20 million people or so were killed in the war camps, expelled by their own neighbors because of the.
Well, it's not true communism, though, is it? Like, true communism would be a positive thing if it was done properly.
Well,
but that's an ideal world, isn't it?
And now go to ChatGPT and ask how to do it properly, and it
create
will give you an advice on this. Yes.
However, like, coming back to that, let's look on a small scale with communes. It's funny, my wife and I talk about this because she comes from a tribal life of, a whole suburb of her family, in New Zealand, as Maori. Loves her family dearly, but she finds, since she's been in Australia since the 1980, she likes the space. She doesn't want to be part of a commune. Whereas I always threatened to move to an artist commune or somewhere up north, Oh, no, we can't do that. And then I look into it and I realize, communes, you live as a commune, as one big family, you help them out and they help you out. But
Russell, this thing.
You, you become part of that world. So yeah, I've rethought that whole idea.
Yeah, I think different people like.
I do like my space, my individuality, but there's got to be some sort of neutrality somewhere, because I see the friction of the two sides, but the pendulum swings too hard, as we've said before, and that friction. But you're right. That friction maybe is what's keeping us going. That spark, backwards and forwards. Unfortunately, the negative part of it is when you see I'm going to say it straight out, the Pauline Hanson heads. Like the stupidity of these people, the stupidity of Trump supporters. I don't give a shit. I'm saying it. Can you not see what's going on here? Like, these people can't even string a sentence together. They're fucking mind-boggling. How can you be following someone like that?
So if you show people of, say, 17th century, those people that were building churches out of stone, and each stone block was handcrafted, and a lot of hours were spent, and you show them the tools of modern day, the blade saws for the stone, diamond saws, like all the pneumatic hammers and the nail guns and like everything. They'd say, oh, we could have built so many more beautiful churches with all this technology. And you bring them to the modern day and show what the sort of crap is being built these days, with all the tech, with all the automation, they would be appalled how ugly it is. They say, we would take 100 years to build a building, and it will be beautiful, it will be stable, it will last for centuries, by hand. And now you have all the tools that you can use to automate your labor, make it faster, and maybe build even more impressive stuff. Yet we do not.
Well, you can blame postmodernism for that, brutalism, etc., etc.
Exactly.
That's the fashion. That's I think.
But it's more than the fashion.
There's still stonemasons out there, which I really like. The fact that there is not as many as there were in the past, because they're not needed. But
I'm just stonemason is just one example. You take houses. You even like just the normal everyday houses are uglier these days than they used to be 100 years ago. But I'm just giving an example. You see, so my worry with ChatGPT is that it's gonna kind of provide fake comfort that is actually not desirable, without giving us much of the benefit. Now, am I against it and should it be banned? I don't think so. I actually don't think that all the negative consequences I spoke about are because of ChatGPT. I think they are because of us humans. It's like, I don't think that lifts in the buildings need to have plastic tap-on cards in the hotels. You know, you check into a hotel, they give you a card, you tap on to call a lift to come to you. Then you tap inside the lift, and it takes you to your floor. There is no buttons anywhere.
Oh, okay.
You know, that's what I don't like.
Mm.
I think that automation is good, but it needs to be like specific and
Well, that's-
very
That's
precise.
probably because of the amount of children that get in the lifts and press all the buttons at once.
Fine, isn't it? We live with it.
Everyone.
It's fine.
Yeah.
But I personally enjoy more where I press the button with
You
my
have a bit of
finger,
control.
and I feel a little bit more control, and I can make a mistake, and I can change it. I like, okay, my room is on 7th floor. What happens if I get to the last floor? What's there?
Yeah, yeah.
I like that.
Exploring something like that. Yeah, going to a
You get
different
degrees
floor.
of freedom, choice.
It doesn't allow you to do that with these new cards.
No, I
Right,
find it
okay.
horrible.
Yeah.
You are only programmed to go to your floor, to your door. That's all.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it'd be nice if you, especially if there's a top floor on a building,
But
it'd be nice to get to that.
But like this is everywhere.
it's probably
It's
not,
the
so.
same in the online applications for a bank account.
Yeah.
It's all the same. It's sort of all pre-chosen. This path is sort of laid out for you. There is no optionality, and it's kind of getting out of our lives in the shopping as well. You know, with government regulations, everything's becoming standardized and ugly and boring and limiting, and you know, and so ChatGPT and AIs of that kind are gonna be used unwisely in the same way this stupid automation is introduced to the hotels for the lifts. Of course, it's more convenient for the workers of the hotel because they are not worried that people are wandering around on the floors they're not supposed to be and so on. But is it human? At the end of the day, the most convenient person for another person who is not closely connected to is dead in a coffin underground. That's going to be the most convenient, you know, doesn't disagrees with me, you know, doesn't vote for the wrong party, doesn't do wrong things, you know. That's the thing. We are all disruptors. We create entropy. You know, sometimes it's very unpleasant. Sometimes we, you know, people kill, you know, there are murders and stuff, and this is the unpleasant reality.
Well, whole subcultures and art forms come out of rebellion and out of repression.
And it comes out of individualism, individual expression, individual perception, individual. The greatest art is the most individualistic and unique, authentic works.
Yeah.
Take Michelangelo, Da Vinci, you know, the Rembrandts, and so on. They are Van Gogh, you know, Degas, you name them. They are all individualistic. And when you don't have buttons in the lift,
you lose that individual.
You are losing your individualism.
It's a nice sort of analogy, a metaphor for the whole thing.
That's my worry about ChatGPT.
Yeah, understandable. Yeah.
And we will make it that way. We will. It's not like we shouldn't be using it. You can still have the cards where you need to be, but the problem, they are now everywhere, these plastic cards.
Yeah.
And we will put Gen AI everywhere where it needs to be and doesn't need to be. Yeah. As a chatbots for the banks where you need support, absolutely not helpful. Humans are not helpful, and you wait on the phone for 20 minutes, horrible experience. But chatbots, I've used them every now and then when I have to because there is no other option. And the internet companies love them because they don't have to have support personnel and pay money, and it looks cheaper. Whether it's cheap or not, I don't know. But I'm just looking at the green light. But the point is that this is it's going to be put everywhere.
Yeah,
for right or wrong reasons.
See, I don't want to dwell on the fact that we're in a very important transitional phase of humanity. I was talking to a friend yesterday who's the same age as myself. We went through art school together, and we feel privileged that we've been in this era. We feel privileged we grew up without phones and computers and with green grass and bush and can run around barefoot on stones and throw rocks at each other and get away with it.
Mm.
You know, we're lucky. We're at this point in time that they will look back on from the future and think, why can't we be like that used to be? I feel.
I hope
You
they
know,
will.
I'm thinking the the
But
freedom we've had really before all this has taken hold,
exactly.
and it's even my kids. They were born in the '90s before the internet. Before I didn't allow them to have phones until they were late teens. I held off as long as I could. I tried to hold off from video games like Xbox and stuff, but grandparents stood in the way. But you know, it was good. It's good they had at least half of their childhood was before it. This day and age, I feel for parents dealing with kids that are hooked into the main line, you know, constantly.
Yeah, yeah. We don't quite know the implications of that
Yeah,
yet properly. Yeah.
I never thought I'd be part of a generation gap, but I can really see it. The older I get, I'm starting to feel that. I'm thinking, shit. I
So
just come back to myself, localize everything, think, okay, what can I do in my lifetime that's good for me, that's good for other people around me, good for the planet, and just do what I can, you know, and keep creating, because that's all I can do. That's all I've ever known what to do is create stuff, you know. Um, so yeah,
so that's my resolution on AI.
mm,
Great tool. It
mm,
will be abused and misused
of course,
a
human
lot
nature.
to the point. But when you say abuse and misuse something local,
Mm,
like I don't know, weed killer, and poison the soil, it stays local. The problem of these digital platforms that it scales to billions of
of
people,
course, yeah, yeah.
and and there is almost zero cost to abusing and misusing it.
Mm.
You don't pay money, at least for now.
But
You know,
let's look at that analogy of weed kill. I'm hoping that the intelligence of AI will hook into things like permaculture as a solution rather than poison, which is killing our planet at the moment. So when they realise there's other ways which are being worked out with certain aspects of AI, is working out bio ways of dealing with things like
why
that.
do you think so?
I just uh, it's diagnosing faster than humans can diagnose.
But the problem is AI doesn't have a purpose of its own. It doesn't have an ethical framework.
It's
You
fed.
can do an experiment.
It's fed.
You
Yeah.
can do an experiment.
Mm.
Ask AI a question. Let's say, I want to make a Facebook post highlighting this artwork of yours, for example, and then do another uh, request. I want to create a Facebook post highlighting my artwork so that I get more followers.
Mm.
You'll get different answer.
Yeah.
Just additional prompt, you'll get a different answer.
Mm.
You change the starting point for the AI, and it will create you a narrative or a script that you can use that will give you more followers.
Mm.
Will it be a better post? No, but will be more hooky, more sticky to
Sure.
people.
Yeah.
And so the AI will be for agriculture.
Mm.
Depends on your question. How do I maximize my crop? If
Mm.
that's your question, it's gonna say, okay, well, do this, put these chemicals in the soil, and you will get better crop. Use these pesticides. The problem is not how I create the healthiest crop
Mm.
or the most nutritious crop or the most biodynamic, whatever. And a lot of people that gonna use AI, they're in the corporate profit
Well, that's what it
maximization.
comes down to, isn't it? Human
Yeah,
greed.
yeah,
Human greed being fed into this machine that is creating the answer for everyone else.
That's exactly the
So
problem with it,
that's where
and
I
it's gonna be
feel
on scale.
I'm hoping in the future it's beyond that, where it thinks for itself
Oh,
and it's more intelligent than us.
that
But
is a problem.
I see a positive thing here. I know I've watched too many sci-fi flicks where AI has taken over. But then why would something more intelligent than humans be destructive? Why wouldn't they be more creative? Why wouldn't they say, we don't need to destroy things anymore? We don't want to destroy humans. We want to make it easier for everyone. Easier in the fact of everyone would have a living wage, for instance, and stuff like, this is how my ideal world again, you know, but I'm hoping that it may be long since dead that I'll be in the ground, you know, but in the future, AI will be smart enough not to be destructive. There'll be no more wars killing people, you know, for no reason.
The AI of modern day is nothing but a statistical search machine. So it doesn't have its own ethical kind of framework unless it's built into by the developers.
Yeah.
It doesn't have its own agency unless, you know, we kind of pretend there to be one, which some people get fooled for that because it's so compelling, you know, in responses. So I do not believe that we can create a machine that has authentic, independent thought process. It's just a matter of my belief. I sort of side with people like what's that British gentleman, a Nobel Prize winner, who is Roger Penrose, who made a talk once, and he justifies his position quite well, to my opinion, through mathematics and so on. There are theories that show that there are parts of the ecosystem that we live in, they can be computable in principle, and there are parts of the world that are non-computational. You can't put equation, you can't have zeros and ones and digits running in the computer to describe something. And so he's arguing that some part of us being human involves understanding. And he argues that the fact that we understand something, the understanding itself is non-computational. And he's arguing that without understanding, you can't come up with a new original idea, a theory, or way of looking at things. It comes with this intrinsic feeling of understanding, which is completely non-mathematically computational. We can't even describe it. We can't describe it. It can't be in the computers. It can't be in the computers. Therefore, it can't be AI in the computer sense AI. That's his point of view. I kind of like that. I think there is some part of our consciousness, our life, and it may not be a very big part, but it's essential to our life that is non-computational, that doesn't fit, however hard you try, into the computer world of AI.
It's a spiritual thing. It's an unseen entity that we don't understand. People try to explain it with religion, etc. But see, there's not many things with such. The amount of neurons going through our brain is insane. Billions. Who's to say that a robot won't be created by AI itself with the amount of neurons we have? Would that create a consciousness, though? Would that create a spirit? Or are we looking at something else?
I think it's something else. I think we don't understand.
Supernatural, you know. So
I don't know whether it's supernatural or just our definition of natural is so limited. If you look in the history of science in the 18th and maybe even 17th century, there was a kind of spiritual element to the science, to the way scientists thought, worked, lived, even the way the machinery and equipment were built, like microscopes and telescopes of the time. They had a particular aesthetic. There was craftsmanship and sort of artistry to it. And over time, and if you read the scientific articles, even 19th century, like late 19th century, like 1880s, 1890s, which I've done when I was a chemist. I had to go back to the German chemistry magazines to find the recipes for certain chemicals that wealthy labs just pay money and buy. And I worked in a poor lab in Russia. We had to make a lot from scratch because we didn't have money to buy ready chemicals. And so these recipes were in these journals of 1880s. And the journal was called Chemische Berichte der Deutschen Chemischen Gesellschaft. It's a journal of German Chemical Society. That's what it means. And I read those articles, and you read, and they are written with a language that scientists don't use anymore.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's written in a very relatable, non-abstract language. Like in your round bottom flask, you will start seeing, as your liquid cools down, you will start seeing a precipitation forming that is resembling snowflakes and is relative to sugary compound that you find in your cupboard. That's how articles were written. Now, if you read an article these days, it's dry, technical, very abstract, lots of jargon. Like, a lot has changed in science. And we haven't noticed it for the most part, we humans. If you're a historian of science, you will see the difference. But for the most part, we just like frogs in the water that is, the temperature is rising and we don't notice the change as it happens. And the sad thing is that AI may not be good on the overall for the society, and we will not notice it because it's going to be across years and generations, and we will spoil it on the political problems of the society or parties or whatever. And I think it may be something to do with ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, have you heard what is the unfinished line?
It's never finished.
I heard the phrase that there is an unfinished line sometime back, a few days ago. And I wanted to ask you, maybe you heard something about it.
The unfinished line?
No, the unfinished line, something unfinished line. Jeez.
Cheers. Down with the government!
Yeah. Thanks for listening to the unfinished line.
So if you enjoyed the conversation, share the podcast with a friend, leave a like or a follow, and that'll help more people discover the show.
And if you'd like to hear more conversations about art, philosophy, process, and the creative life,
so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next episode.
Until next time.
Keep making, keep questioning, and stay unfinished.